Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Kassandra and today we'll be doing a Yin Yoga class focusing on the kidney meridians. So meridians is not something I have yet brought into my Yin Yoga classes on YouTube, but you can now expect a full meridian series on my channel, and the kidney meridian is just the first one that we are going to start with. I thought it would be a great fit for the holiday time. So the kidneys definitely support us in our detoxification process. They filter our blood, filter the urine. Definitely important to organ health and to our overall health and well-being. So if you are unfamiliar with the concept of meridians, basically they are thought of in the Eastern Chinese medicine tradition as being these pathways that help to circulate and move energy throughout the body. So similar as the Hatha Yoga tradition views the chakra systems as a way to move energy throughout the body, in the Eastern Chinese traditional medicine, we have meridians, and then what we call energy, instead of being prana, like in the Hatha Yoga tradition, we call it chi. So it's moving the energy through these meridians and directly into our joints and our connective tissues, which is what the purpose of Yin Yoga is. And then we are able to support the healthy function of our organs and healthy function of our entire bodies. So the kidney meridian itself starts from lower down into the feet and travels along the inner legs all the way to the tailbone and then up through the spine into those kidneys. So we'll be doing some hip openers and really inner groin thigh stretches, as well as a few back bends. I won't be using any props for this practice, but you might want to have a couple blocks for some of our deeper hip openers if you need it. Just begin in a comfortable seated pose, whatever that might be to you, either up on a block or not. And you can bring your palms down to face onto the knees, and we're just gonna bring the thumb and the index finger together to touch, and then let the palms face down towards you, or face down towards the tops of the knees. Drop the shoulders away from the ears, chin parallel to the floor, and let the eyes close. And use these first few moments of your practice to get grounded and settled. And a practice focusing on the kidney meridians does have a very grounding nature. So if you're feeling frazzled, stressed out, or a little chaotic, this is a great practice to just bring you back into the present moment, bring you back into your body and back into your breath. Allow the flow of your breath to become smooth and steady. Getting your inhale to be just as long as the exhale. Feel the sit bones grounded down into the earth beneath you, like the deep roots of a tree down into the soil. And imagine your spine like the trunk of a great big tree, reaching and lifting up. And for these last few breaths, let's reach our arms up and wide, fingers spreading. So just like the branches of a tree expanding, and breathe into the chest and into the upper back. Feel the ribcage expand front to back and side to side. Find that connection from the earth to the sky, tailbone to the crown of the head, fingers to toes. And exhale, release the hands back down. Let's make our way into our butterfly pose, taking a forward fold. Soles of the feet will come together, knees apart. And you want to sit up nice and tall here. If you feel like you're rounding back, you can always prop yourself up onto a block. And choose the space that works for you between the heels and the groin. They can be a little closer, a little further apart. And you can hold the pose here, or you can walk your hands forward and start to crawl forward, letting your spine round, your neck relax, and your head hang heavy. So wherever there is a gap between your body and the floor, that can always be a great place to put a block. Maybe underneath the forehead, or if the inner thighs are screaming a little bit in this pose and it feels just a little bit too much, you can just put a block under each knee to give yourself a little bit more support. And if you're fairly close to the floor like I am here, try to turn your palms to face up towards the sky so there's no temptation to push or pull and drag yourself into the pose. Just let gravity do the work for you as you open up through the inner groin. As you hold this pose, imagine you can breathe directly into your kidneys. Right below the ribs, on either side of the spine. Take deep breaths into the back body. And bring some energy back into the arms. We're going to make our way out of this pose, but do it really slowly and keep breathing even as you lift up. So just press into the palms. Go up inch by inch, feeling your way out. And once you're lifted back up, you can bring your hands to the outer edges of your legs. And it might feel good to drop the knees side to side or to just extend the legs straight out in front of you. Just little slow, steady, mindful movements to help you release and unwind from that pose. And we'll come into a winged dragon. So this is similar to lizard pose. So you're coming up onto your hands and knees. Step your right foot to the outer edge of your right hand. So both palms end up being to the inner edge of that leg and of that foot. You might want to pad your left knee a little bit here if it feels like it's going to be uncomfortable. We are here for a few minutes, so you can always double up your mat or put a blanket there. And then lift the right toes up and start to roll on the outer edge. So the outer blade of your right foot. So the sole of the foot is not really on the floor anymore. You're externally rotating that right hip and keeping the knee and the ankle in that same line. You can work the pose from here, staying up onto your palms, or you can come up onto some blocks, or you can go deeper into it by lowering down onto your forearms. And my favorite thing to do here is to lower onto the forearms, and then I just put a block underneath the forehead so my neck doesn't really have to work. Let gravity do the work for you here. Try to find your edge, and you'll know you've gone past your edge if you have a hard time relaxing and letting go in the pose. We're not looking for a crazy amount of sensation, just a moderate amount of stress. Stress is a good thing in Yin Yoga. It just means it is the stress we are applying to the joints and to the connective tissues, the stress of the pose, in order to improve our range of motion. And let's lift our way out of the pose here, step by step. If you were down on your form, start by lifting back up onto the hands. And turn the right toes to face forward once more. And make your way back into your tabletop pose, uncurling the mat if that's what you were doing. And it might feel good to just press the hips back, take a few hip circles, just get the blood flowing again. And we'll go and do the same thing on the second side. So this time you'll have to step your left foot forward to the outer edge of your left hand. Maybe pad your right knee. And you're gonna lift your left toes up and start to rotate your left thigh down. So you're rolling to the outer edge of your left foot, keeping that foot flexed, and just press the hips forward and down. You might have more or less flexibility on this side, so don't worry about having the exact same experience. Modify if you need to, either on your hands, on a block, or down to the forearms. So as you settle and find some comfort here in this pose, bring your breath back down into the kidneys, into the inner groin, wherever you feel this the most. Relaxing the jaw and the shoulders. Take your last 5 deep breaths here. And then ease your way out. Same way you did on that first side. Back up onto the hands. Pointing the left toes forward. And then moving back, tabletop pose. You can move your block out of the way if you had been using one. Take a few breaths just to let the hips settle. And we'll change the focus away from the hips for the next two poses and move into the spine a little bit more. So just lower onto your belly and come into your Sphinx pose. So forearms flat to the ground, elbows and hands about shoulder width distance apart, maybe a little bit wider even, pressing down through every single finger pad. Pull your shoulders back and lift the chest up. So you control how deep you go in this back bend. Bring your elbows closer in towards you to go a little further into it, or walk them out in front to lessen the intensity of this pose. One of my all-time favorite poses. The toes are reaching back. There's a gentle inner spiral of the upper thighs. So the hamstrings and the back of the thighs are facing up towards the ceiling. Creating space through the sacrum, widening the sit bones. Tailbone reaching towards the heels. Maybe letting the eyes close. And this is a really great pose to breathe into the kidneys. So it's up to you. You can either hold this same pose for another 1.5 or 2 minutes or so, or you can transition into seal, so a deeper back bend by pressing the palms into the ground and lifting up, elbows off the mat. And we want to be careful not to hyperextend or lock the elbows. Tiny little bend here. And some compression is okay through the sacrum. That's actually what we're looking for, but there should never ever be any kind of pain at all. So if it's too much, either bring the elbows back to the floor, or you can just walk your palms a little bit further out in front of you. Find that sweet spot where you can hold the pose, find your edge, and resolve to be still. And then your final option for our last minute or so, if you wanted to go even deeper into this compression, you can bend both knees as if you were trying to bring your toes towards the crown of your head, but not worrying at all. They're not supposed to touch. But just bend the knees and see what that changes and what that does for your low back. It might be too much, and if that's the case, keep the shins on the ground. These are just options. And straighten the legs. If you had your knees bent, bend the elbows. Before we move to another pose, just turn one ear to the ground. Rest your arms beside you, palms face up, and bring the toes in towards one another. Heels leaning away from each other. And you can shake a little bit. Just release the low back, release the pelvis. Slide your palms back alongside the shoulders, the rib cage, and just lift your way back up. We'll move into caterpillar, so a forward fold. But before we do this forward fold, just bring your feet flat on the floor and your hands back behind you. And we're just going to do a windshield wiper motion with the knees. So letting the legs drop from one side to the next. So really great to do after a back bend, a deep back bend, especially because we're folding forward right after. So we want to give our spine the chance to settle and release. And from here, reach your legs out in front of you. Feel free to keep a generous bend in your knees, especially if you're working with any injuries, or you can sit up on a block. So this is a Yin Yoga passive fold, which means it's perfectly fine to let your spine round. And you can have your blocks or any kind of props close in towards you. And just let yourself fold in. And I like to turn the palms to face up here too. So we're not pushing or pulling, but just softening into the shape. Relax your neck and your head. And the props are optional here. Some people prefer to just let their head hang, and that works too. Notice if the upper body is still trying to work. Soften the chest, soften the legs. Let yourself naturally unfold in the pose. Now be really mindful of your lower back and of your spine as we make our way out of this pose. So just engaging the arms again, palms to the mat, take your time to lift back up, inch by inch. Until you're sitting all the way back up, and we're going to lower down to our backs. Taking a lying spinal twist before we come into Savasana, our final resting pose. So let yourself come down to the floor. Keep your knees bent, feet flat on the mat, and reach your arms out to the side. You're going to press your feet down, lift the hips, and move your hips just a couple inches over to the right before letting both knees drop down to the left. So right shoulder stays anchored where it is. You can hold here, or you can go a little deeper by crossing the right thigh over the left. And really just doing this pose to help release any kinks we might have gotten in our low back from the back bend and the forward bend. And I pretty much always finish my Yin Yoga classes with this pose. And let's uncross the legs to lift them back up one at a time. And we'll move into our twist on the other side. So your hips should go all the way to the left. And then the knees will drop down to the right, either just stacking one leg over the other or crossing your left thigh over your right. Try to keep your left shoulder blade pressing down to the floor. So the collarbones face up and you just twist from the mid and low back. Taking deep, slow and steady belly breaths. And let's lift the knees back up. And make your way into Savasana, your final resting pose. Taking up space with the arms and the legs, palms facing up. And take a moment to really notice how you feel now as opposed to when you first stepped onto your mat. Feel the subtle shifts in your physical body, in the energetic body. And get heavy on the ground. Start to deepen your breath, waking yourself up by wiggling fingers and toes, rolling the wrists and the ankles, turning the head side to side. You can take a big stretch, reaching the arms overhead. And you can keep the eyes closed. We're just going to make our way to take a seat. So closing our practice the same way we started it. Cross-legged or kneeling, any way that's comfortable for you. Sitting up tall, let's bring our hands together at the front of the heart. Bowing in. And we'll close our practice together by chanting one Om. So inhaling to chant. Inhale. Om. Bringing the thumbs to the third eye. Together as we bow, we say Namaste. Thank you all so much for doing this practice with me. I do hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please do subscribe to my channel. It makes a huge difference and really means a lot to me. I put out a new full-length yoga class every single Thursday, and as of today, I still have about 5 or 6 spots left in my upcoming lunar yoga program. So registration closes for the month of January on December 31st, unless all the spots fill up beforehand. So if you want to learn more about that and join our wonderful community of women, you can click the link down below in the description box. Thank you so much, guys. Have a fantastic day. Namaste.